So as the nation turns another chapter in our history, our journey to nationhood is back in the burner. We're going to start with Lagos, taking a look at how we've fared, how we're faring, where we're headed. Kaide.
Well, that's right, Chamberlain. I imagine that this time, 59 years ago, there was some sort of excitement in the air. I mean, who wouldn't be excited? The country was going to come of age. Now, 59 years after, I imagine those people then had hopes, they had aspirations. So this morning, like you said, we'll be taking a look at how far we have gone in achieving those hopes, those aspirations. And we have with us this morning an elder statesman, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, is also an Afenifere leader. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Your pleasure.
Now, Independence anniversary, and with anniversaries, there's always at least something to celebrate or some things to celebrate. So for Nigeria, what in your opinion are the things we have to celebrate at this point, if any, for you?
Well, when you talk of for Nigeria, I belong to another category. For Nigeria of your age, yes. For Nigeria of my group, who fought for independence and all that, it's a sad story.
How do you mean?
Nothing to celebrate about. This is not where we should be.
So you say for Nigerians of my age, there's something to
Yes,
celebrate.
because you wouldn't appreciate what I'm talking about.
So what are you talking about?
The yearning, the enthusiasm, the struggle for independence pre-1966, and the advancement that we made between 1952 and 1960. I'm sure you couldn't have been born before 1956.
Definitely not.
Not at all. Not even 1960. So when we talk of the golden years of the Western region under Chief Obafemi, you only hear about it. But for people like me who took part, who saw the condition of the country at that time, before he came in, and saw it during his regime, could appreciate what it is to have independence. And for those who run the country thereafter, and what the country became thereafter, it's such a pleasant story.
Right. So I think it's also important. I mean, if we're saying that there's not much to celebrate, then let's go back and say, did we have a plan? Did we have some sort of hope? Did we have where we wanted to get to so we can measure it against where we are right now?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's why I say to people like you, you don't appreciate it. If you can imagine the type of administration, peace, and all that we had pre-independence, then you can appreciate what I'm talking about now. If you can appreciate the type of freedom we enjoy, even under colonialism, when we are agitating for independence, and what we now have when we are now guided, even by the press, by either print media or anything, and the government guiding you for many means. The newspaper can't publish what they want. They will deny them for advertisement, try to squeeze them by any means if they don't pay up to the government. That didn't happen pre-independence. So all that is happening now is making people like me feel sad.
Right. So for then, what was the Nigerian dream, as it were? I'm sure you've heard about the American dream. I mean, there was this thing people, try to strive for. So is there a Nigerian dream?
I did it as a student. I demonstrated in London as a student for independence. We went to the colonial office, Freedom for Nigeria. We agitated for self-government in 1956, before it was delayed to 1960. So we had a dream of a better Nigeria where we rule ourselves with programs that the colonialists never gave us. Take, for instance, when Chouaoua was in government, in 1 year, he started, in 1955, he started the 200 university scholarships every year. Hitherto, the whole government scholarship in the country was about 105, pre-1952. But when he came in, with the free education program, with the advancement for the country. He said, for 1 year, 200. The colonial education officers at that time, if you challenge him, where are you going to get people who are qualified to go to university 200 every year? He said, you wait. If you can't get it, we will see. But the colonial masters, they were surprised. By the time they gave the advertisement, they had more than enough. They also challenged him. Where will you get the university? Where they? I said, well, if they can't get it in Britain, they go to America. If they can't go to America, they go to Russia. Anywhere they can get it, go. That was why we broke the line. That was what produced the Onichiris, the Institute of Locals, all the graduates that we have been talking about. You're laughing, yes.
So if you paint such a golden picture, and I've seen this happen a lot of time, I mean, if you paint such a golden picture about what obtained there, I mean, parents and grandparents always say, we had it such good then. I mean, things were cheap, there were jobs, and all that. So how did we get it wrong 59 years after?
That what?
How did we get it wrong 59 years after?
We got it wrong by bad leadership, by bad management. I tell you, at the time Shifawuro started free education, free medical services, fantastic road in the Western region. The whole economy of the region, and that was £1.25 million, including Edo. But through management, through economic program, he was able to introduce free primary education. It was the only region, it was Shifawuro started minimum wage in this country under a federal system. We started the 5 shilling minimum wage, go to record. But what is happening now?
So at what point exactly?
The point is that we got the wrong people in power thereafter.
So was it the First Republic, the Second Republic, the Third Republic, or during this Fourth Republic? At what point?
Particularly after the military coup.
Which of them?
That is 1966.
Right.
Since then, the thing has gone haywire.
So you're saying it dates as far back as the First Republic up till this period?
1966.
Okay, now you
And that was because, which is very, very important, the constitution under which we were brought together was abrogated by the military. When the constitution came in 1951 under McPherson, it was supposed to be federal, but semi-federal. At that time, you had the 3 regions, and the leader of government business there was leader of government business, no premier. It was since that time, Shifawuro has told them, you can't get this country multinational, multicultural, multi-religious. Under a uniform form of government, you are looking for problems, chaos. Then the crisis came in 1953. You must have heard of the motion moved by the late Chief Anthony Erauro for self-government for Nigeria in 1956, which caused crisis in the Federal House.
So it appears as though the golden era, the golden picture you painted also had its own issues, as it were, because
there's no question about that.
Okay.
When you have a problem, whether they have their problem, they have their... But we still make progress.
Right. Now, it's interesting this issue.
Is Great Britain and America not having their problem now?
So let's
the Brexit, so don't say that is what some of these people, some of you young men, when you have no explanation to rationalize the rotting government that you have, that, oh, everybody's having this government. No, we don't say everything will move smoothly. But those are exceptions.
Right. So I'd like us to go to Abuja briefly. My colleague, Chamberlain, has some questions for you. Chamberlain.
Well, yes, Chief. I'd just like to pick up on some of what you said. You know, when you say that the leaders had a plan for better Nigeria, you know, but even though we read through, but there are those who ask, did they really have a plan for better Nigeria, or they had a plan for better regions in Nigeria?
Better what?
Better regions. Was it a
Better regions,
Nigeria?
because a lot of
better
them
Nigeria.
were said to have had plans for regional development as a country.
As a country. As a country. As a country.
Council. It was because of the various parties that were in those regions. That they are talking of regions. But the action group, for instance, that was ruling the Western region, had a plan for the whole of Nigeria. That was why we really mock our critics who said it's a sectional organization. But because that was the area where they had authority to rule. But the program they had, the free education, free medical services, integrated rural development, good roads, good agriculture, good local government, they are all for the country. But you can only rule where you win the election. So that was the question of when they say plan for the country. No progressive government at that time will ever plan for a section of the country.
But we understand that there was also the NPC, as there was the action group.
Yeah.
There was the Nigerian People's Congress, and then there was the National Council of Nigerian Citizens.
Yes.
They also had their plan. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. All of them had national plan.
oh, not regional plans.
No.
Even though they represented regions.
No,
as it
don't
were.
say they represent. That's the confusion you young men take.
Because they were mostly populated by people from a certain region.
That is why they won the election. I emphasize winning the election. We campaigned throughout the country before we won only the Western region. Azikwe did, Awolowo did. Only the NPC tried to restrict themselves to the north. So when these people, the propagandists now try to confuse you, try to read the history properly. There was nobody although we didn't like, there was no agreement on amalgamation. But those of us who study history, welfare, there's something good in economy of scale, bringing us together, although not their consent. But after we brought together, we now say, let us be together on agreed terms. It is bringing us together under a constitution that does not take care of your ethnicity, religion, and culture that is causing confusion. And it will not cease until you solve that problem.
Right.
That is the foundation of progress. That federal constitution allows Chief Ayo to rule the way it do because of the autonomy in the Western region. Then Azikwe followed the competition. Saudana followed the competition. When Chief Ayo built the Liberty Stadium, Saudana built the Ahmadu Bello Stadium. When Chief Ayo said was going to do
So this was healthy competition.
Competition.
Okay, I think I also has a question for you in Abuja.
Yes, there was no... Chief, thank you very much for that, the last thing that you said about, competition that is geared towards making the nation all come together, develop together and all of that. But there is a little question that I have in my mind now. Constitutionally, any Nigerian from very, very young age is able to contest elections and become president of the nation. I also remember, I mean, of course, you will also confirm this, that the average age of Nigeria's leaders in the 60s was those in their 20s and early 30s. But today, the people that are governing Nigeria are largely in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Now, you said that Nigeria had a plan. We had a dream. Was that dream not... Did that dream not include some form of transition of power, of authority, of governance, of vision from generation to generation? Because if the people who are much older are the ones still governing the nation now, what happens when these elderly people pass on and the young ones are compelled to take over?
You say the country's plan. It is the political party that plan for the country. The country is not an inanimate object. When you say the plan of the country, for instance, when you talk of the plan for the country under this administration, you are talking of the plan of Buhari. Buhari now represents the country. So it's not a question of what the party do, but when the wrong party gets into power, they, particularly when they have no plan, that's what's landing us where we are. So it's not a question of the people plan. If Balewa planned so many 5-year development plan, since the independence, 5-year development plan, 10-year development plan, according to the party in power. The political party is the vehicle through which the progress is made. So when you have a political party that's visionless, that has no plan, that's where we land you.
Does that then mean, Chief, if I can just quickly butt in, does that then mean that the responsibility of transiting from the older generation to the younger generation rests with the individuals or with the parties? What are you saying there, sir?
With who?
The individuals.
It's the party. It is the individual that made the party. Individuals don't rule the country. It is the political party that rule the country. It is the composition of that party that decides the quality and the efficiency of the political party in power. And that's all the essence of democracy.
So it's interesting now that this has come up. Now, we have parties on one hand. You say that the parties rule the country, parties made up of individuals. And then there's the question of regions on the other hand. Individuals also, regions, the regions, our land. Individuals make up the region. So one would think that years after our independence, we'll have fashioned a way to, transition seamlessly, to have every 4 years, perhaps a zoning formula which has come up. So do you think so far we have a template, as it were, as to, using the zone, the politics, even the ethnicity and the religion well to our good?
It's a pity you people who are, we call you fourth estate of the realm, have this concept of what is happening. When you say the people who plan the region, they are the individuals in the party. It is not. It is where they, and I said earlier, the people of the party rule where they win. They can't rule where they don't win. When our won in Western region we are talking of, he contested all over the country.
No. I think the question now is, I'm saying that these are factors, these are issues we have in the country. We can't do without our ethnicity. In fact, they say there's unity in diversity.
No, it's not the question of ethnicity.
Where we're going to is this. Years after our independence, have we been able to use this to our advantage? That's the question.
You see, I have to say this again. You journalists themselves, you don't educate the people. Sometimes you don't understand what you are talking about.
Please educate.
When you tell me, say, well, have we done this? Have we done that? It is the political party that campaign issues to afford to rule the country. It is when they win that they implement that program. If they don't win, they can't rule.
But I think we're forgetting also
for
that...
instance, no, because you are always saying, I say the people, because invariably, some of these lazy new Democrats or progressive, they tell you, the old people thought the old thing. We are more progressive. They are damn opportunists. They have no program. It is the party that give them an appointment that they go after. That's not so. In those public, all right, since when, after independence, have you seen any political party in the country having a program with which they are running the government? Take, for instance, your president, PDP, APC government. The public manifesto, not so.
So
how far?
So I think you're going back to the question which I asked. The point is this. As a country, we have gone this far, and we're looking forward to getting things better, which is why I asked, the issues we have are regions, the political parties. Have we been able to use them to our benefit? But then, no, I'm saying from where we started from.
Yes.
I mean, we had regions from where we started
from. That's the unity of the country.
Exactly. So let's now go to...
If you don't get this clear, and it's always being confused by even the so-called leaders and you, some of you journalists.
So you are saying, in essence, that we should jettison this idea of regions and come together as a nation?
As you interpret it. Because
no, we need to be actually clear.
That is what it is.
Right.
But because people who don't understand what it is, just that we are talking of federalism now, The reactionaries from the north say, oh, don't talk of federalism. You're separating the country. Restructure the country. No, you separate the country. Because they don't understand.
Now that you bring up restructuring means a lot of things to different people.
No,
but for
no,
you,
no.
what is your ideal
It is you
restructuring?
people, the people want to confuse issues that say restructuring means something.
So what does restructuring
It doesn't
mean
mean
to you?
anything other than restructure back to federalism.
So how should we have the arrangement?
Let me tell you, that's what I said earlier. The question of restructuring came about after the departure of the ministry. At that time, the ministry was ruling the country as a unitary form. And I told you earlier that it was in 1966 that the ministry needed the federal constitution to unitary. When they now said they were going, say no, send us back to where you met us. That was when you had sovereign national conference. What brings that one about? We didn't want the constitution that which the ministry imposed on us, which we continue to say imposed by northern Muslims. That question must be brought clear. We said, all right, we don't want war. The military now has departed. We still want to stay together, but we are not going to stay together under this imposed constitution. That was led to agitation of sovereign national conference. It was thereafter they now said, no. Absalom said, no, I haven't got the time for you. He's still alive. And one of the things I have against him, he now talks of peace. But the road to peace is left aside. At that time, the Nadeko and Afenifere in particular said, no, don't send us back to civilian review. Let us do this constitution first. It is that constitution we want to do in peace. We talk of sovereign national conference to agree, as we had in 2014, on the constitution that is going to bind us together, and to ask the question, do we still want to live together? So if we want to live together, on what terms?
Right.
That was the essence of sovereign national conference, which the government at that time, including that of Obasanjo, considered that we were having true sovereignty. He said, no. All we are saying is the composition of the assembly that made the law, whatever law they made there, should be final. It should not be subject to amendment by any government in power.
Right.
That is the sovereignty of that concept. If anything is going to happen to the recommendation of that assembly, it should be sent to for referendum.
So you think for us to move forward, we have to go back to some of these things and implement them? Okay, we'd like to thank you so much, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, an elder statesman. Thank you for saying it as it is, as it were. He's also an Afenifere leader. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on Nigeria's independence.